lot of us women have some thyroid issues, or we have jaw pain issues, we have neck issues, and I can't help but notice the correlation between that and the conditioning that we have all gone through to be quieter, don't speak up, don't talk too much. Welcome to the Glow Up Revolution podcast, a podcast for overgivers, overachievers, and the strong ones in the room. We discuss everything from neuroscience-based burnout prevention to magic spells we can cast for upcoming job opportunities and everything in between. Welcome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome back to the Glow Up Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Megan Winkler, and this week we are talking about the heart chakra. So, as always, this is a standalone episode that you can come back to anytime you want to, and I am doing these in order, and we are already up to the throat chakra, so the fifth chakra, and we're going to talk a lot about the magic involved, how it shows up in your business and personal life, and how to tell if there's an imbalance going on or if that throat chakra is nice and open. So let's start this week with a quick question. How many times this week or this month have you typed something, reread it, or maybe softened it before you hit send? A lot of times this happens with a work email. And you didn't do it because you were being unkind or it was too spicy or anything like that. But just because you were really concerned with how it was going to land with the other person. That, my friend, might be a sign that your throat chakra wants a little of attention. So as a recap, we have talked about the root chakra, the solar plexus chakra, root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, and now we're on to the throat. So we're going to be talking about your voice, your truth, and all that. And before we dive in, your throat chakra is also connected to your hands. So actually writing or journaling, that exercises your throat chakra as well, which I think is really freaking cool. So it's all connected here. So let's get into it. The throat chakra sits at the base of the throat, kind of right at the thyroid. So thyroid problem, people, I've got my hands raised on video. That can be one of the causes of a slow or fast thyroid. So in Sanskrit, it's called Vishuddha, and it means especially pure or pure. This is the place where communication is supposed to be unfiltered, and it is supposed to be something that we can share without fear or without distortion or without people pleasing. And so in my personal theory, again, I am not a medical doctor. I am not a therapist. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I am, in fact, a coach. But in my experience, both personally and with my clients, it does seem like a lot of us women have some thyroid issues, or we have jaw pain issues, we have neck issues, and I can't help but notice the correlation between that and the conditioning that we have all gone through to be quieter, don't speak up, don't talk too much. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was definitely called a blabbermouth when I was a little kid. I just wanted to communicate. I wanted to talk and share. We'll get into all that in a little bit. The element that it is most associated with is actually the ether, which is really pretty cool to me. It is also the color blue. I happen to be wearing blue today. Thank you very much. Total coincidence. And it is also connected to the sense of hearing because it's so close. And because how well you listen to yourself is part of the chakra's function and health as well. It governs self-expression, truth-telling, and it also comes into play when we talk about there being a gap between what you actually think and what you actually say. So the thoughts happening up here in your head or the feelings that are happening in your heart to express them, they have to come through the throat chakra. And sometimes what we are thinking or feeling does not come out through the throat chakra because we hold it in. Okay. Again, a lot of us learned this when we were very young, and we'll hear it today. If you start paying attention to any time your throat gets, you get a little choked up, it gets a little scratchy, that sort of thing, it might be because your throat chakra is like, I don't know that I can say that. Or if you're like me, it could be that you sang very loud karaoke on the weekend and you're still a little scratchy. It was totally worth it. So let's get into the signs of imbalance in the throat chakra. So again, deficient, excessive, these are our options. So deficient or more closed off throat chakra. It looks like a fear of speaking up. It also looks like chronic self-editing. So like, look at how you're writing emails. Is it super passive? Hey, I just wanted to check in to see where we might be with this project. Versus, hey, so-and-so, where are we at with this project? It can also look like agreeing to things when you don't actually agree with it, like saying a yes just to kind of people please. It can also look like a small or quiet voice, like literally or figuratively. Like maybe you're not projecting, like you're speaking very softly because you don't really want to show up on people's radar. Okay. An excessive throat chakra or a very wide open throat chakra can bring you to be talking over others, dominating conversations, gossiping, using words as a weapon instead of a bridge. So just like way out there, like what most people would say is too much because it's about not speaking up. It's about dominating. Does that make sense? So I am never going to be like, wow, you talk too much. No. That's not what I mean. When it's dominating, when it's using your voice as a weapon instead of a connection point, that's when we should look at that. Physically, again, not a doctor. A sore throat, thyroid issues, I mentioned that already. Jaw tension, TMJ. Yeah, it really sucks. Because a lot of times we grit our teeth because we don't want to say what we want to say. It's a tendency to clear your throat before you're saying anything remotely honest. So pay attention to when your throat closes up. Like I said before, pay attention when you feel like you have to clear your throat. Okay. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't clear your throat, that you should, try to tamp that down. Just notice it. And then when you notice it, you might find a correlation between that throat clearing and what you're saying or what you want to say. In daily life, it can look like rehearsing texts and emails obsessively, rereading your Slack message 10 times when it's very simple and you don't need to do that. Feeling relief instead of pride after a hard conversation that you softened. So sometimes we go into a hard conversation and we soften what we were going to say because the other person responds in a way that we didn't realize. I don't know about you, but I have rehearsed many a hard conversation in the shower. And in my head, I always imagine the worst case scenario, the most combative response ever, that I'm going to get into this big old fight. And then when it starts happening, we actually start having the hard conversation. The other person's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's figure out how we can work on this. And so you soften it because that's what the situation calls for. An example of softening it because you are wanting to avoid things is maybe a conversation with your mom over her disciplining of your children. You're their advocate. And if she's being a bitch, don't soften that. You need to hold firm and stay firm and grounded in your conversation. It can also look like a nagging sense that people really want the polished version of you and not the real one. I promise you, you will win more people over being your imperfect, wonderful, unique self, because we are so tired of super polished, super perfect, over processed, over produced situations. Okay. So your daily support practices for your throat chakra is saying one small true thing out loud each day that you would normally keep to yourself. So you can say something in the mirror, looking at yourself, and just say something true. It's very low stakes. Something true about yourself. You can literally start with, my name is blank. So if I wanted to start really like entry level on this, I could say, my name is Megan, and look myself in the eye in the mirror and leave it at that. When it comes to humming and singing, we are literally vibrating the throat. So I invite you, if you're able to, just say, my name is, and then fill your name in, and place your hand over your throat and feel the vibrations there. Okay. There is a lot of very cool physiology and biology that goes into the throat. There's a lot of very cool vibration that happens when we sing, when we hum, when we talk. It also helps to balance and stabilize the vagus nerve and release stress, which is so awesome. Blue foods and drinks. So blueberries, I think was it Steve Martin or George Carlin that talked about blue on the vine, purple in the bowl or something. I don't know. But blueberries are blue. It's fine. Herbal teas. So some of the, like the butterfly pea teas are blue. There's a lot more out there as well. You can do, trying to think, there, corn flour, that's what it is. So corn flour is a really pretty blue petal that sometimes is in Earl Grey tea, sometimes it's mixed with green tea, that sort of thing. And then of course, like small sensory anchors for the chakra. So wearing blue, okay, you can also use blue lace agate, aquamarine, sodalite, even turquoise. Wear that as a necklace. Journaling can help you reconcile the moments when you didn't say what you wanted to say. I am totally gonna date myself here. But in the movie You've Got Mail, if you remember that one, Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, back in the 90s. And one of her things is she's like, man, I always wish I could just say what I want to say in the moment. And it's always like a day later, I think about the thing that would have been a great zinger. Well, you can sit down and you can just journal that out and just be like, man, I wish I had thought of this beforehand. Journal it out, and it can help kind of reconcile that message. Because again, our hands are connected to our throat chakra. And then of course, any sort of neck and shoulder stretches can really help break some of the tension that is happening here. Some of that tension comes from stress. Some of it comes from holding in our voice, which can also be stressful. See, it's like this whole cycle. So our balancing practices, of course, I'm going to recommend Reiki. And whether you see me or you see someone else and you have an issue with your throat chakra, we can help you out. Sound healing is also a great way to nurture the throat chakra. So this could be chanting, it could be toning, it could be humming, but also like sound baths are really helpful. I mentioned the gemstones already. And then like a written then spoken practice is really cool. So kind of bringing it back to that journaling thing, the thing you wish you had said, you know, you can write it out. And if it helps, you could actually read it out loud to yourself. Sometimes it helps to hear your own words in your own voice. And then breath work that focuses on full exhales, right? So it's a lot of times we will hold our breath. And I've talked about this. I talked about this with the solar plexus chakra, the heart chakra. A lot of times we can hold our breath like way up high. And it's when our breath is shallow, our breaths are coming very close to each other. So really, if we're able to take a big, deep inhale, let that move all the way down to our belly and then out, and the exhale and fully exhale, this can help us exercise the throat chakra, use our voice a little more, all of that. So In business or work, this shows up as content. Does your content sound like you? Do your emails sound like you? Or does it sound like what you think a person in your industry is supposed to sound like? Because a blocked throat chakra in business produces content that's technically correct and absolutely forgettable. It's so polished, so it offends no one. It doesn't stick out. It's very generic. And in this day and age, it's going to read like AI. Okay. And if you're using AI to write all of your content, my friend, you're doing yourself a disservice because it's going to be generic as fuck. Okay. It's the opinion. It's the behind the scenes content. It's the essence of you that comes through in the content that makes the difference between somebody picking you and somebody picking someone else. Okay. So if you find that you're holding yourself back, then are you doing so that you don't piss people off? So that you want to be liked? So if your throat chakra and your business are aligned, you sound like an actual person. You actually sound like yourself. And your content, whether it's written or video or whatever, it has rhythm, it has an opinion, maybe it has a little bit of friction. It's got slang in there. I will totally type out y'all in emails and messages because that's how I speak. It can be very kind still without being vague. So you can have a hot take and not be an asshole about it, basically. Okay? Because you do it all the time. Like if you're talking to your bestie, you have no problem sharing a hot take about something, and you are able to do it with kindness or compassion, and you don't worry about it so much, right? So if you're aligned with your throat chakra, you're able to do that sort of thing. Obviously, if you're looking at how this applies to a work situation, like if you work in corporate or you work with a company, you do have to edit a little bit. Like you can't just walk in and just be cussing up a storm because your boss isn't going to like it. That's cool. There are other ways to express yourself that still are authentic. And so that's always the goal. Be authentic. And don't feel like you have to overshare. Oh my God, there's so many people that overshare on the internet. You do not have to tell your whole life story. Not at all. But if you are able to connect what you actually think and actually feel with what you actually put out there and say or write, publish, then that authenticity comes through and your throat chakra is going to remain open. So this week, I encourage you to notice the sentence that you soften before you hit send. Like I said, this happens a lot with email. I even do this too. So like I'll reread my email and be like, well, that's too soft. Like I don't need to be passive about it. Right. You don't have to force yourself into bluntness, but just notice where those passive words and phrases are popping up. Like, I just wanted to check in. I just wanted to let you know, could I maybe get an update on that? Like anything like just maybe, these words, like kick them out. Okay. Because your unedited voice is not a liability, is actually a strength, and it is a characteristic of your authenticity. So next week, we're going to move into the third eye. And so we're going to talk about intuition, and I love talking about the third eye. I think it's a really cool chakra. So thank you so much for listening. I'm so glad you're here. Shout out to my amazing Patreon members, both free and paid. I appreciate you so much. Your support means everything. If you are a paid member, your bonus for this week is the one pager for the throat chakra. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have a whole set of one-pagers, info sheets for you to add to your journal, your book of shadows, or wherever you want to keep your quick reference guides to things. So that is available to the paid tiers starting at $3 a month. Those links are in the show notes, as well as my Instagram and my website. Thanks again for listening. Let me know if you have any questions or any suggestions for upcoming episodes. And until next time, stay magical. Bye.